What's happening, guys? SupaNova here, back with another video, and this is my no bullshit review of Returnal. Well, kind of. Because see, I had initially planned to play Returnal at least for a full day, and then give my initial reaction video, then beat the game, and then leave my full review of Returnal. Here's the problem. Because my nerve pain has been so out of control, I've actually spent most of Friday and literally all of Saturday sleeping because of just being physically exhausted from all the yelling from my nerve pain. That being said, I believe I've spent enough time with the game to be able to give you an informed opinion on whether or not the game is good, bad, what I like, what I don't like, and so on and so forth. Especially with Resident Evil 8 coming right around the corner, I figured let me make this video now. Now, the first and most important thing I could say about this game for someone who is either looking to decide whether or not they want to buy the game or who knows absolutely nothing about it, is that this game has roguelike elements. What are roguelike elements? What does roguelike mean? Let me explain. Roguelike is a subgenre of role-playing video games characterized by a dungeon crawl through procedurally generated levels, turn-based gameplay, grid-based movement, and permanent death of the character. Now, I said this game had roguelike elements, which means it's not all of these things. So which elements specifically is it? Well, you're going to have procedurally generated levels, and then most importantly, permanent death of the player character. Yes, in Returnal, if you die, you go back to the beginning of the game. There are no save points, there are no checkpoints, none of that shit. The only exception to that rule is once you hit the midpoint of the game, because there are 6 different biomes. The first half of the game takes place from biome 1 to 3, and the second half is biomes 4 to 6. If you die at any point while traveling between biome 1 and 3, you get sent back to biome 1, the very beginning of biome 1. If you die at any point between biomes 4 and 6, you get sent back to the beginning of biome 4. So it isn't like you get sent back all the way to the beginning of the game if you die at the end, but you're still getting sent back to the beginning of the halfway point. Not only that, but you also lose everything you have. There are very few upgrades that are permanent on Celine. Most of the upgrades you have are only with you for the ride. Once the ride ends and it's game over and you go back to the beginning of, whether it's, biome 1 or biome 4, you start from scratch. That's what roguelike means in terms of this game. Those are the roguelike elements that this game has. That is the most important thing for you to know going into this game. Because when you watch the trailers of this game, or you see any of the marketing in this game, nothing about it indicates that it has those type of elements. So, and this is something that I thought the game was going to have an issue with early on. It's based solely on the marketing material and the trailers. There are going to be a bunch of people who buy Returnal thinking it's going to be this fun, arcadey, third-person shooter that clearly has kind of death loop elements because it kind of alludes to that in the trailer, but have no idea both how difficult the game is and then how punishing it is because of those roguelike elements. And they're gonna play for a few hours and be like, yo, I gotta start all the way back at the beginning, fuck this game, right? So that's something that this game really has to combat going forward, because I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure there are millions of gamers who bought this game having zero idea that that's the way this game plays. And for someone who's not expecting it, I can imagine it would probably be a pretty big kick to the nuts because, it's one thing to try to get your way through biome 1 and then die and get sent back to the beginning. But after getting through biome 1 and beating the boss and then finally getting to biome 2, I'm sure there's dudes that are like, finally got to level 2, all right, now let's go, right? Only to find out that when you die in level 2, you get sent back to not the beginning of biome 2, but the beginning of biome 1, right? So I can imagine there's dudes that are like, you know what, fuck this game. But it's really not that bad, because once you've beaten the boss to biome 1 and you get to biome 2, a portal actually shows up in biome 1 that takes you directly to biome 2. The thing is, because the levels are procedurally generated, that door with the portal to biome 2 could appear anywhere within biome 1. The same thing happens with the portal to biome 3. Once you beat the boss in biome 2, the portal to biome 3 also will appear in biome 1. So you can go straight to biome 2 or 3 from biome 1 once you've beaten the bosses in 1 and 2. Again, but like I said, those can appear anywhere because the world is procedurally generated. The only thing that is the same every time is the beginnings of the biomes, where you start biome 1, where you start biome 2, where you start biome 3. Everything outside of that area is completely procedurally generated. So, for example, in biome 1, you are, crashed outside your Helio ship, and then there's a door. Once you open that door, What room is on the other side, completely random. And you know, there's only so many variations of rooms. So once you've gone through biome one X amount of times, you'll have seen most of the rooms, if not all of the rooms. But they're always going to appear in a different scrambled order and a different branching paths, right? But like I said, there's always a portal to get to 2 and 3 once you've gotten that far. So it's really not as bad as it sounds. I wouldn't recommend going straight to biome 2 or 3 from biome 1. And I'll explain why in a little bit. I just want to get that out of the way because I think that's the most important thing that you should know as someone who may be undecided about the game or someone who might be thinking about picking the game up, is to know that it has those roguelike elements. Because just like FromSoft games like, you know, Bloodborne or Sekiro or Demon Souls, you need to know going into those games the type of games that they are. Those are games that are meant to kick your ass and beat you up and be difficult games. That's the type of game that Returnal is. Returnal is not an easy game. Returnal is a tough game, a challenging game that on top of that has those roguelike elements, so when you die, you go back to the beginning. You need to know that going in, because if you're not the type of gamer that can enjoy those type of games, or those are the games that you really don't get pleasure from, you will not enjoy Returnal. Now with that out of the way, let's go back to the very beginning. So what is Returnal? Returnal is the newest game for PlayStation 5. This is a PS5 exclusive from Housemarque Games. Housemarque is a studio whose bread and butter is bullet hell games. That's primarily all they make. And my earliest Housemarque experience was on PS3 with Super Stardust HD, and then again on PS4 with Resogun. Resogun was a game that was available at the launch of the PS4, and it was this bullet hell game that was basically you in the spaceship flying around this cylinder, and they just launched waves of enemies at you, and the enemies can shoot, projectiles in different colors and patterns, and there's all these particle effects. And if you watch this clip of Resogun playing, you can definitely see DNA from Resogun in Returnal. Now, on top of those bullet hell and roguelike elements that we talked about, Returnal also has Metroidvania elements. That means that there are areas you're going to find in the earlier biomes that are inaccessible to you until you get upgrades from the later biomes. So there's a lot of replayability in going back through the earlier biomes to areas that you previously could not get to. That's what Metroidvania means. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what Returnal is. It's a third-person bullet hell shooter with roguelike and Metroidvania elements. You play as this character named Celine, who's crash landed on this planet Atropos and is trying to figure out what the hell she's doing there, and also why she keeps reliving her deaths. I mean, there are points in the game where you find data logs that kind of give you some backstory as to what's going on, but she often finds them next to corpses of herself. Like, she finds dead versions of herself all throughout the game, which is pretty cool. So that's basically the type of game that Returnal is. Now, I'm going to break the game down into different elements and then explain each one of those elements individually, starting with the weapons. Now, another thing you need to know real quick, though, is that on top of the procedurally generated environments, everything that happens within the procedurally generated world is also completely random. So every run that you have, you're going to have what we call a different role. It's a different role in terms of enemy placement, type of enemies, types of weapons, types of upgrades, types of parasites, etc. Everything is completely random. So when speaking specifically about the weapons, you need to know that there are 10 weapons in total throughout the game of Returnal. You're not going to have access to all of those right at the beginning. Some are going to be locked away to later biomes. Some are going to be completely dependent upon your role. For example, I had a weapon that I found in Biome 3 that my friend who had completed the game still had never even seen, just because the game never rolled it for him for whatever reason. The only thing that's constant is you start off with a pistol. Every time you restart, you start off with a pistol. Now, the way you get weapons, there's a few ways you get them. You can either get them by opening chests, or you can get them by defeating mini-bosses. Certain mini-bosses will drop weapons. And again, when you pick up that weapon, its stats completely random, because the roll is different every time. So you may pick up a gun, and then get a duplicate of that gun in the chest, but the stats of it are completely different. Or its alternate fire is completely different, because that's the other thing. The way this game works with the DualSense is if you pull the left trigger, or L2, halfway down, you'll feel it kind of building up tension and then getting to like where a breaking point is because of the adaptive triggers. When you pull it halfway, that lets you, they say aim down the sights. That's what all the reviewers say. Oh, it lets you aim down the sights. You're not aiming down the sights. What it's allowing you to do is zoom in a little bit. You zoom in a little bit and it will highlight enemies' weak points and other things in the environment. You're not really aiming down the sights, even though every single fucking reviewer I've heard will say letting it, pulling in the trigger halfway lets you aim down the sights. You're not aiming down the sights, it's just zooming in a little bit. But that's what halfway does. Pulling down L2 all the way will activate your alternate fire, and then once you press R2 to use that, it will then take a couple of seconds to refresh before you can use it again. So whenever you pick up a weapon, for example, there's one called the Tachyomatic Carbine. You can get one, and then, like I said, open a chest and get another one, and have the alternate fire be completely different, and have all the stats for it be completely different. There are also additional abilities that the weapons can get that when you first pick it up are locked, and as you use that weapon and get kills with that weapon, the additional abilities will unlock. So you'll pick up a weapon and you'll see at the bottom it might say that there's a special ability with a little lock next to that. All you got to do is keep using the weapon, getting kills, and then it will unlock that ability. And once you've unlocked that ability, that is one of those things that is permanent. That ability will permanently be unlocked for that weapon in the future. But again, it all depends upon the role of the game, because you have this thing called weapon proficiency, and as you're playing through the game, you're picking up items that increase the proficiency of your weapon, or your weapon proficiency. So let's say hypothetically you open up a chest and you pick up a weapon that's got proficiency 1. As you're playing through the game, you will increase your weapon proficiency, and if you get your weapon proficiency to, let's say, proficiency 6, it doesn't mean that the weapon you're using is at proficiency 6. It means that the next time you open a chest, or the next time that an enemy drops a weapon, it will be at least level proficiency 6. Sometimes I've seen it drop a level above my proficiency level, but it means that you're going to be getting weapons at least at that proficiency. So that's something you need to understand. The proficiency level, as you're building up your proficiency level, is not of the weapon you're using, it's for weapons going forward. And once you get up in the higher proficiency levels, it starts unlocking new slots that are open up for abilities to be on. Like, for example, by the time you get to level proficiency 15, you can have up to 3 slots on the weapon of abilities. But let's say, hypothetically, taking the Tachyomatic Carbine again as an example, I am now in Biome 3 at weapon proficiency 15 with 3 abilities, and I die, and I go back to Biome 1, and shortly after starting, I pick up another Tachyomatic Carbine. Well, at those lower weapon proficiencies, there might not be any additional slots for the weapon. But if you were to get, let's say, a Tachyomatic Carbine that had at least 1 slot for additional features, it's going to be a randomized roll of the features you've currently unlocked. So it's not like they're in a particular order. It's completely random. And that's one of the things about this game that also is really, really important, is that there are 3 things about this game that matter. One is skill. You definitely need to have skill to play this game. The second is strategy. You need to be very strategic in decisions you make playing this game. The third is luck, because it really depends on the role of things that you get in this game to determine whether or not you're really going to be successful in a run. Now, let's say you're just a gaming beast. You're just a super badass. You can beat any fucking game. You can fucking beat Dark Souls with your eyes closed while eating ice cream and getting a blowjob, right? If you're that type of gamer, the third thing is not going to matter as much to you. Luck is not going to matter as much to you. But for most people, the luck of the role is very much going to matter. For example, I had a run where I was in the 3rd biome on my way to the boss. I had a weapon that I liked, the Hollow Seeker, my preferred weapon so far in the game. That was a weapon proficiency level 15, so it was the max you can get in Biome 3. It had 3 slots unlocked. 2 of those slots were of features that I like, or features that I prefer on the weapon. I also had 3 small healing items, 3 large healing items, a Parasite that allowed me to survive a killing blow, a artifact that allowed me to survive a killing blow. Like, I was geared up for fucking war, right? I was about to go into this boss fight like fucking Rambo, based on the weapons I had and the items that I had. But again, all of those things are completely dependent on the role that I get. There were plenty of times I got to Biome 3 and the game would not give me a fucking Hollow Seeker to save my life. The game was not giving me any vials of Silphium, which is the healing items, whether big or small, to save my life. At least not to the extent that I had in the run I was just telling you about. And you can play just as good. You can play just as good run to run. But the items you're going to get and the weapons you're going to get are completely fucking random. And on that Hollow Seeker, for example, there is one feature particularly on that weapon, the serrated blades, that make a huge difference in how good that weapon is. Because if you get a Hollow Seeker without the serrated blades, it's a decent weapon. You get a Hollow Seeker with the serrated blades, it is a badass weapon because those serrated blades hit enemies and will continue to hit them even after you're done shooting. So you can literally burst fire at an enemy, duck behind cover, and you can watch their health bar continue to go down as those serrated blades basically fucking continue to saw into the enemies. Now, a Hollow Seeker without a serrated blades, in my opinion, is nowhere near as good as a Hollow Seeker with the serrated blades. And all of that, again, is dependent upon the role. Because you can be skillful, you can be strategic, but certain things are just not up to you. The next thing I want to talk about is the adrenaline system. This game has something called adrenaline. What adrenaline is the more kills you get without getting hit, the more damage you're doing. For every 3 kills, you fill 1 adrenaline slot, maxing out at 5, so adrenaline level 5. At adrenaline 5, you're doing the most damage. Get hit once, bam, right back to 0 adrenaline. It honestly sounds a lot worse than it is though, because you really get kills pretty fast, and as long as you're paying attention and not getting hit, you fill that adrenaline up really fucking quick. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is health, or in this case, suit integrity, because it's not called health in this game, it's called suit integrity. You've got a green bar that is your suit integrity, and there are 2 different items you can pick up that are for your suit integrity. One is silphium, the other is resin. Silphium will fill the suit integrity bar. Resin will fill a slot next to the integrity bar. And if you notice here, there are 3 slots next to the integrity bar. Filling all 3 slots and then picking up another piece of resin will add to the integrity bar. So if you're at 100% possible suit integrity, once you pick up that extra piece of resin, it'll start adding a second integrity bar next to the first one. Even if you get hit, you never lose how much integrity you can hold max. So if you're at 100% max possible and you get hit, so you're only halfway full, and you get 3 resin and then that next resin piece, it's still going to add on to your suit integrity even if you only have it halfway full. Now, with the silphium, like I said, the silphium fills the integrity up. But if you have full integrity, so if you're already at 100% max and it's completely full, picking up silphium will start acting like resin, and it will start adding to the bars on the left-hand side. So to recap, resin only goes to the bars on the left-hand side, and once you filled up those bars, the resin will then add to suit integrity, or start building that secondary health bar. Silphium is how you fill the suit integrity, or how you fill your health bar, until the bar is filled, in which case it then begins to act like resin. Make sense? Okay. Now, there are 3 types of currencies in Returnal. One is ether, the other is keys, and then obolites. Ether is just picked up throughout the biomes, throughout the worlds. Same with keys. Obolites are dropped by enemies, and then you can get them by opening certain chests. Ether can be exchanged at certain devices to give you a random artifact or consumable, but the most important thing the ether is used for is purchasing reconstructors. Reconstructors are devices in each biome that make it so that if you die, instead of going back to the beginning of biome 1, you just go back to the beginning of that biome. And it's probably the most important thing you're going to spend your ether on is the reconstructor, because if you're fighting the boss and you die, you don't want to go all the way back to the beginning of the fucking game. Now, that being said, if you use your reconstructor, for example, in biome 3, you get to biome 3, you find a reconstructor, you use your ether to purchase the reconstructor, which I believe is 6 ether. And then you fight the boss and you die. It's going to bring you back to the reconstructor. It's not going to respawn any of the enemies in the stage, but you are going to be starting that boss fight from the very beginning. But hey, starting from the beginning of the boss fight is better than starting from the beginning of biome 1, especially when you're at biome 3. Keys are used to open certain doors and certain chests. You'll come upon chests and doors in the game that you can only open if you have keys. So keys are very important to have because it's going to make it so that certain areas or chests are completely inaccessible. And that chest may have the weapon you need, may have the artifact you need. That room may have health vials that you need. So having keys is kind of important. And then obolites. Obolites are used at machines called fabricators that can fabricate different items. Now, in every biome, there's at least one room that will have 4 fabricators in a row. And the first fabricator on the left is always a small silphium vial. The other 3 fabricators are completely random. Then there'll be another fabricator by itself that will increase suit integrity by 25%, which is substantial. And then a machine on the other side that will allow you to exchange ether for obolites or obolites for ether. That room is guaranteed on every run and every biome. But there are also randomly rooms which may have one fabricator or two fabricators, or a fabricator that will increase suit integrity, or a fabricator that will increase weapon damage. Like they also appear randomly throughout the biomes, throughout the run. So obolites are very, very important. And obolites are picked up one of four ways. There are some small bits of obolite that you can just run over and pick up. There are large chunks of obolite that you have to melee to pick up. There are obolites you can get from opening up chests, and then there are obolites that are dropped by enemies. And because of how important obolites are, while technically it is possible to pick off certain enemies from a distance, you really don't want to do that. You want to be running in, moving as fast as you can, taking out enemies and picking up the obolites that they drop, because if you take out all the enemies from a distance, great, you killed all the enemies, but you also didn't pick up any of the fucking obolites. And while there's certain parasites that will extend how long the obolites stay on screen before they disappear, you still want to be moving around and picking up the obolites as fast as you can, because they are so important when it comes to using those fabricators to do things like increase your suit integrity by 25%, or increase weapon damage by 10%, or fabricate sulfume vials, which you can use to heal yourself on the fly, or even artifacts, right? So like I said, obolites are very important and you want to pick them up as fast as you can. Now, speaking of parasites and artifacts, what parasites are these weird kind of spider tentacly things that you can pick up that basically give you passive abilities. But since they are parasitic, you get both a positive passive ability and a negative. A good example is you could pick up a parasite that will give you a reduction in your alternate fire of 2 seconds, but it's also greatly going to increase the refresh time for your melee and dash. So one positive passive ability, one negative passive ability. You can hold up to a maximum of 5 parasites at a time, and the only way to remove them from your body is to either A, use a consumable, which removes all 5 parasites off your body at once, or go up to a machine, which may or may not be found in your biome, again, depending on the role you have, that will randomly remove 1 parasite off of your body. So let's say you've got all 5 parasites on, and there's just 1 parasite you don't fucking like. The other 4 you're perfect with, you love them, but that one's gotta go. You got 2 options, like I said. Use a consumable, which removes all the parasites, including the 4 you really liked, or go up to a machine that randomly removes a parasite, and maybe it's the one you don't like, maybe they're gonna remove one you do like, and leave you with that fucking one you don't like. So, again, that's where I said the strategy is really important in this game. You need to be very strategic in the parasites you're choosing. You need to be reading carefully when you pick up parasites. There is a habit that I think we have as gamers that I myself had to get out of, that when you see things on screen that you can pick up, you run up and you pick them up. Well, don't do that in this game. If you see a parasite, read what it does first, because sometimes the negatives vastly outweigh the positives, in which case you just want to fucking leave that piece of shit alone. Perfect example is early on, I wasn't paying attention and I picked up a parasite. I didn't even know what the positive effects was. I just saw a parasite, picked it up. Again, wasn't paying attention. This was early on. Well, the negative effect of that particular parasite was you take damage every time you pick something up. The only exceptions to that was when you pick up health or pick up obolites. But pick up a weapon, get hurt. Pick up a key, get hurt. Pick up an artifact, get hurt. Anytime you pick anything up, you fucking get hurt. It's one of the worst fucking things to have, and I quickly learned that lesson. Now, moving on to artifacts. Artifacts are a lot like the parasites, except they have no negative passive effects. They are only positive passive effects, and you can't remove them from your body. But again, why would you? They're just positive passive effects. The only instance I've seen of an artifact that gets removed off your body is the astronaut doll, and that's because it allows you to survive a killing blow. So if you're fighting some enemies and you have an astronaut doll and you die, the astronaut doll artifact then gets removed from your inventory, but it allows you to come back to life with roughly about half health, so you don't have to restart from the beginning of the biome. But that's really the only instance I've seen of an artifact that will come off of your body. Everything else stays with you. And those are artifacts like aiming with alternate fire will slow down time, or an artifact that increases the positive effects of a parasite. So like I had a parasite that gave me a 20% chance of not using a consumable when I use it. And then with the artifact, it increased it to 40%. So I had all these health vials that as I was using them, I almost had a 50% chance of healing myself with a health item and not having it taken out of my inventory. So artifacts are fucking awesome. Now we need to talk about malignancies. Because, see, there are items in this game that are malignant. And you can either get keys that are malignant, you can open chests that are malignant, you can break large chunks of obolites that are malignant, and then you can pick up silphium and resin that's malignant. And before I explain what the malignant shit means, I just I want to talk about for a second that every time I see the word malignant on screen, I fucking crack up. And it's not because most people probably when they see or hear the word malignant, they think of cancer and terrible things. But being the half Italian, New Yorker I am, or ex-New Yorker anyway, I think about fucking Sopranos because there's this there's this scene with Paulie Walnuts. Well, let me just play the clip for you.
She's a malignant cunt. Excuse me for saying so.
She's a malignant cunt. And the best part, excuse me for saying so. oh, fucking Paulie Walnuts. Oh, bless your heart. Anyway, back to the game. So what does malignant mean in the game of Returnal? Well, that means that when you pick up those items, you run the risk of something bad happening to you. Now, this could be either damaging or hurting your suit integrity, or getting a malfunction. Now, of the two, the malfunctions are by far the worst thing that can happen to you. Both can be fixed or corrected, but malfunctions are the bigger pain in the ass, because while taking the hit to your suit integrity, bam, it happens, and then you move on, malfunctions stay with you until you do what is required to clear the malfunctions. Sometimes it's something super easy, like kill 15 enemies or 20 enemies, that something you're going to be doing all the time, because no matter the role, no matter the biome, you're killing enemies. Or sometimes it's something that's a little bit harder to do, like sometimes it's, pick up 2 resin. Well, maybe the game gives you resin, maybe it doesn't. Resin is completely dependent upon the role that you have. You may go through 5 rooms in a biome before you even come along 1 resin, and you need 2 to get rid of the malfunction. And malfunctions can be all kinds of negative things, including like that parasite where picking up items hurts you. So this, again, just like with the parasites, is where you want to be very, very strategic. Do you take the risk opening up the malignant chest or picking up a malignant key, knowing that it could give you a malfunction? Do you use ether to cleanse those items so that you don't get malfunctions? Do you break the malignant obolite chunks or pick up the malignant obolite resin, knowing it has a possibility of hurting your suit integrity? These decisions are going to make or break your runs, because you could be on a fucking banging run and then take the risk in opening that malignant chest to just get hit with a malfunction that's now going to vastly reduce the possibility of you beating that boss or even getting through that biome, right? So you need to be strategic in how you play the game. I will tell you, me personally, I'm currently in Biome 4, the second half of the game. But when I was still on Biome 3, trying to get past the boss in Biome 3, as I was going through, while going through Biome 1, sure, I'll pick up a malignant item here or there, or I'll take the risk on a malignant chunk here or there because I have time to remove the malfunctions, or if I take the hit to my suit integrity to get it back, right? But in Biome 2 and 3, you throw anything malignant at me, you can go fuck yourself. I ain't touching it. I'm not taking the risk of either having it hurt my suit integrity or give me a malfunction that late in the game that could affect me going forward. In Biome 1, it's not that big of a deal. But Biome 2 and 3, I'm not touching them. That's just me. You can make whatever decisions you want. But again, to me, that was the strategy that I used to help me successfully get through Biome 3 and then get on to Biome 4. You can use whatever strategy you think works for you or whatever strategy you are finding success with. But like I said, in this game, again, the 3 things: skill, strategy, luck. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, SupaNova, if there is a portal directly to Biome 3 and Biome 1, why would you go back through Biome 1 and 2? Good question. And this is what makes the game not so much difficult, but kind of a pain in the ass and a chore. Is, yes, absolutely. If I lose in Biome 3, I can go back to Biome 1, and then work my way to Biome 1 till I get to the room with the portal to Biome 3, and then boom, go right to Biome 3. Herein lies the problem. If I jump directly to biome 3, I have A, not spent the time to build up my weapon proficiency level to get higher level weapons. I've also not spent the time to build up my suit integrity. So now I have low health or less amount of health. Okay? Those are both super, super important. If you're trying to go into the boss fight at the end of biome 3, but you haven't built up your suit integrity and your weapon proficiency is at 2, well, every weapon you pick up in biome 3 is only going to be weapon proficiency 2. You're only going to have 100% of your health. Why the fuck would you do that? Sure, you can do that, but that is an ass-kicking recipe all fucking week and twice on Sunday, right? So hey, if that's what you want to do, if you want to go straight to biome 3 from biome 1, hey, have at it. Good luck with that. Would I recommend it? Fuck no. I recommend going back through biome 1, going back through biome 2 in their entirety, and exhausting every possible room you can before you get to biome 3. That is the best way to set yourself up for success, because then you'll be going into biome 3 with the max possible suit integrity and the max possible weapon proficiency you could possibly have for that run with the roles you were given. And if you do that, like I said, you're setting yourself up for success. For example, I just went to biome 3, fought the biome 3 boss for the first time, beat him on the first try. But I was only able to beat him on the first try because I took the time to go back through biome 1 and 2 and prepare myself for that boss fight in biome 3. I also got lucky because one of the artifacts I picked up was the astronaut doll, which allowed you to survive a killing blow, because I died facing the biome 3 boss, but because I had my astronaut doll, it brought me back to life with roughly half a health bar, and I was able to beat the boss before that was gone. But had I not taken the time to exhaust all of my options, I never would have come across the room with the fabricator that had the astronaut doll artifact in it. I wouldn't have had 230% suit integrity. I wouldn't have had a 20% increase to weapon damage, plus whatever other positive effects I was getting from the parasites I had and the other artifacts I had, right? I wouldn't have had those things had I not went through and spent the time going through the biomes. And honestly, look, when you first start the game, just getting through biome 1, dude, you get your ass kicked. And then, after you get through biome 1, and you get to biome 2, biome 1 is a cakewalk. You get through biome 1, no problem, but you might be struggling getting through biome 2. Once you get through biome 2 and you understand those biomes, you understand those enemies and how they work, and you're on biome 3, going back through biome 1 and 2, it's easy. It's just time consuming. By the time I had gotten to biome 3, getting through 1 and 2, it wasn't a matter of, can I get back through 1 and 2? No, getting through 1 and 2 is easy. I could get back to biome 3 anytime I wanted. It was just the time it takes to get through biome 1 and 2. It was also, was I happy with the roll of shit I was given? Because there were multiple times where I'd get to biome 2 and be about to get into biome 3, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have any health items. I don't have any artifacts. I don't like this roll. Fuck it, let me wipe. And I would wipe on my own. I could have taken the chance in biome 3, but I was like, fuck it, let me just wipe and start a new run. You don't have to play that way. You can just run and take your chances. If that's how you want to play, fine. That's not how I like to play. Like, I liked going into biome 3 knowing that I was fucking geared up for war like fucking Rambo. So by the time I got to the biome 3 boss, I had the best possible chance of running through his ass, right? Again, that's just how I like to play. You don't need to play that way. But again, that goes, I think, to strategy. I strategically decide, am I going to just go for it, or am I going to wipe and start from the beginning? Again, that's how I play. You do you, boo-boo. The only other thing we haven't talked about is consumables, but that's because consumables are exactly what they sound like. Now, you can carry up to 3 different types of consumables, or that is to say, you can unlock 3 consumable slots. I currently only have 2. My buddy who's beaten the game, he's got 3. And then in each slot, you can carry multiples of consumables you pick up. Now, for example, I'd like to carry a large silphium in one spot and then small silphium in the second spot, or vice versa. It doesn't matter which spot they're in, as long as I have large silphium and small silphium. And let's say I have one of each, and I pick up another small silphium vial. Well, then it's just going to tack on to the small silphium I have, and it'll show 2. And I've held a max of 5 small silphium. I'm not sure if they max how many of a consumable you can carry at once. Max I've carried is 5. So maybe you can carry more, I don't know. But just wanted to let you know you can carry more than one of the same consumable, but you can only carry 3 different consumables at a time max. Oh shit! One last thing, I completely almost forgot about the overload feature. If you've ever played a game like Gears of War, you'll recognize the reload mechanic in this game. You basically have a bar that fills up after you've emptied your magazine. You have a bar that fills up and then a sweet spot in the middle. If you hit R2 while in the sweet spot, you immediately will reload the weapon. If you hit it before or after, it's going to take longer to reload the weapon. So it rewards you for hitting the sweet spot, it punishes you for missing it. Kind of like a chick. Right? So hit the sweet spot, faster reload, hit it before or after, longer reloads. And that's really all there is to know about the mechanics of Returnal, or really all I can really think of off the top of my head. I can't think of anything that I'm missing or anything else that's really that important. I've really explained the most important shit. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is stability of the game. Because, see, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about the game has stability issues, or the game crashes, or the game's a glitchy, buggy mess. I don't know what fucking game these people are playing. Now, me personally, I've had 2 issues with the game. Just 2. I had the game freeze on me once, and it froze like the entire console froze. I couldn't go back to the home screen on the PlayStation 5. I couldn't do shit. It was just frozen. Now, I don't know if that was the game that froze or if it was the system that froze. But because I was playing the game, I will just go ahead and say Returnal froze. Okay, so Returnal froze on me once, and then Returnal crashed on me once. And this is playing for like 12, 13 hours? So, I mean, to me, that's not bad. I mean, it'd be nice if the game didn't crash at all, but to have it really crash on me once, whatever the other thing was, I don't fucking know. But the game actually crashed and, like, closed itself and let me send an error report once. The other time, I don't know what the fuck that was. So one time, or if you want to count the other one, the freeze as a crash, fine. We'll say twice in, like, 15 hours. Did it suck that it crashed? Yes. Was it that bad? No. So I don't know what the fuck these people are bitching about and crying about on Twitter and YouTube. Fucking like,
Fucking game crashed on me. It's 3-hour run and the game crashed on me. I'm putting this game down until they patch it. It's a buggy, glitchy mess. Gah.
like seriously? Jesus Christ, you fucking crybabies. You know what? I was in Biome 3 on a fucking amazing run. I had a fucking level 15 Proficiency Hollow Seeker with the fucking serrated blades. I had 3 large Silphium, 3 small Silphium. I had like 230% suit integrity. I had a fucking Parasite that allowed me to survive a killing blow. I had a fucking astronaut doll that allowed me to survive a killing blow. I had just spent 6 ether on the reconstructor to save myself from having to restart the biome if I died. I also had a Parasite that gave me a 20% chance of not using a consumable when I do use it, and an artifact which increased all the positive effects of the Parasites, which gave me an actual 40% chance of not using a consumable. I was also at the area at the very, very end of Biome 3, like right before the boss. I mean, right before the boss. I felt like fucking Super Shredder at the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze.
The last vial of ooze! He must have drank all of it! It's a super shredder! Whoa! Great! Now what are we supposed to do?
And the game fucking crashed. And I was like, no! I was like, no! Fucking 2 hours. It took me 2 hours to go through these fucking biomes and exhaust every option to fucking get this build that was like a beastly build, and I had gotten a good roll and good luck with everything. And I was like, no, fuck. You know what I did after that? I immediately went to Twitter to complain about the one crash I had that cost me 2 hours. Nah, I fucking I fucking went back and played it again. And guess what? I went and beat the fucking third biome boss on the very next fucking try. Did it suck that the game crashed on me and I lost 2 hours of my life? Yes. Did it suck that that was a fucking amazing roll? That even on the roll where I beat the third biome boss, the roll was not as good as that one? Yes. Did I cry about it like a little bitch? No. Dude, I fucking saw someone that was like,
because this game has no saves or checkpoints or permanent upgrades, I lost 2 hours of my life. Ugh.
it's like, guess what? If you would have lost at the fucking boss, the game has no save points, has no checkpoints, and you lose everything because the upgrades aren't permanent, because it's a rogue-like game. Now, does the game have an issue with crashes? Well, I guess technically, since I and most people I know that have played the game have experienced at least one crash, I think I can safely say yes, the game does have an issue with crashes. Does it crash as much as fucking Cyberpunk or as much as Godfall? Fuck no. Those games crashed repeatedly on me. I've experienced one crash in my 15 hours or 13 hours, however many fucking hours it's been, right? My buddies experienced one crash. Am I saying it's not possible for the game to crash more than once on you? No, I'm not saying that. I'm sure that there's people that have had the game crash more than once on them, okay? But I'm sure there's also people that had God of War crash more than once on them. Crashes fucking happen. In this game, it just stings a little bit more because, like that person said, there's no checkpoints, there's no saves, and nothing is permanent, right? So the crashes sting a little bit more. But hey, it's a roguelike game. Nut up or shut up. Now, is this me defending the crashes? No, this is not me defending the crashes. Is this me defending the fact that the game crashes? No, that's not what it is. Because I know someone right away is going to be like,
You fucking damage controlling pony, the game's a crashing piece of shit. Ugh.
no, dude, I'm not defending the fact that it crashes. All I'm saying is if the game crashed on you once, I'm sorry that you lost 2 hours or 3 hours on that run. I'm sorry, that sucks. Fucking start again. Or if you're gonna be like one of these people that's like, I'm putting the game down till they patch it, well then fucking you do that. You enjoy not playing and enjoying the game. Because guess what? Even though that game crashed on me and it sucked, I continued playing. I still had a fuck ton of fun, beat the 3rd biome boss, and now I'm on biome 4. Or, I could have stopped playing, still been stuck on Biome 2, and then, Resident Evil 8 would be here, and then I'd get back to Returnal, God knows fucking when, because I'm a fucking crybaby. Or I could do that. But hey, again, you do you, boo-boo. Now, I can't critique the story of Returnal, because like I said, I have not beaten the game. That being said, with the time I've spent with it, knowing what I do know, and with my experience, I can say, without a doubt, that Returnal is one of the best games I've played this year. It is one of the most fun games I've played this year. It is one of the most unique games I've played in a long time that makes great use of the DualSense on the PlayStation 5. And there's a reason why it currently holds an 86 on Metacritic. And before I hear anyone say,
Good, that's because it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive. All PlayStation exclusives get good Metacritics. Good.
oh really? That's why Destruction All-Stars is sitting at a fucking 62, right? Right? That's why, because it's a PlayStation exclusive. It's PS5 exclusive, actually. And because it's a PS5 exclusive, it's automatically going to score an 80 or higher, right? Because that's how PlayStation exclusives work. So they just automatically get good Metacritics. Or maybe the PlayStation exclusives that get good Metacritics get them because they deserve them. Gee, isn't that a weird concept? Good games getting good reviews. Wow, that's fucking crazy. I can also understand, though, why Returnal has a user Metacritic of 7.5. Like I said, I'm sure there's a ton of people who went into this game not knowing what to expect. And this game, if you don't know what to expect, is going to fuck you up. It is going to kick your ass, beat you up, kick you when you're down, spit on you, hit you with a snot rocket, fuck your girl, and then laugh in your face, right? That's what this game is going to do to you if you're not expecting it. If you know what to expect, and you know going into Returnal, the type of game it is, knowing that if you died any time between the 1st and 3rd biome, it's sending you back to the 1st. Knowing that there are no save points, there are no checkpoints, there are very, very few permanent upgrades. Knowing all of that, with the exception of the game possibly crashing on you, Returnal is one of the most fun experiences you're going to have this year. And if you're a PlayStation 5 gamer, one of the most fun experiences you're going to have on your PlayStation 5. Just like with Death Stranding this game is not for everybody. And I could very much understand the discrepancy between the Metacritic score and the user score, because Death Stranding was a game that was not for everybody. You needed to enjoy the gameplay loop in Death Stranding. That gameplay loop is not for everybody. Many people would go into Death Stranding and be like, yo, this game is boring as fuck. I don't like it. Me personally, I enjoy that gameplay loop, but I can understand people who don't. I totally get it. Same with Returnal. I totally understand if someone who doesn't know anything about this game buys it, plays it, and hates it. Or buys it, plays it, and just can't get through it, or doesn't like it. Totally understand. But that's why I'm here, to try to educate you with the best of my ability to help you understand what this game is and what you can expect of this game. So if you are thinking about buying this game, you know what to expect. You know going in, is this going to be a game I like or a game I don't like? Because the last thing I want for you to do is to spend $70 on a game you don't like. And while we're on the topic of $70 games, because, you know, that's what people like to talk about now, because evidently $10 breaks the fucking bank these days. $10 is like, oh, $10. I can't afford $10. Go fuck yourself, right? To me, Returnal is worth all $70. It is a game that you're easily going to spend 20 plus hours in. And no, the length of a game is not the only thing that I use to determine whether or not a game is worth the money. It's a combination of the time I spend in the game, the quality of the game, the enjoyment I get out of the game. For me, all three of those things are positive, so for me, $70 for Returnal is worth it. If you want to wait for it to be on sale, again, you do you, boo-boo. But for me, I'd gladly spend $70 on Returnal again. And I love watching these people have faux outrage at $70 games when they gladly spend $70 for digital deluxe editions of games that have a character skin and a digital soundtrack. For that, the extra $10, it doesn't matter if the game is dog shit, the extra $10 is worth it. They can somehow scrounge up the extra $10 for a fucking character skin and a digital soundtrack for the digital deluxe edition. But somehow, $70 for a game like Returnal, evidently, they can't come up with $10. Can't do it. Again, for me, Returnal worth every penny of the $70. It is a fantastic game, a great game, a fun game, one of the most unique games I've played in a long time. It's a game I admittedly wasn't too sure about, and have been outspoken about the fact that I wasn't too sure about it, because in the trailers, to me, it just felt like a fancier Resogun. And I'm here to tell you that Returnal is much more than a fancier Resogun. Returnal is Housemarque stepping up their game in nearly every facet of game design to elevate their studio. And for their first AAA game, their first outing as a AAA developer, I think Housemarque has done a fucking amazing job in Returnal. But hey, that's my opinion. And that's all I got for you guys on this one. And that's the video, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Have you played Returnal? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know. And as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys on the next SupaNova.